Hi, it's Tony. You're in Pop Pop's workshop, and this week we're going to put out this project. It's a squared up corner of aluminum on a Baltic birch background for stained glass. So follow along on this journey. Watch me completely screw up multiple times and still somehow in the end come out with a product that made the customer happy. Follow along. We'll get to the build. All right, as you saw in the beginning, we have a stained glass reference board. It's got a square corner where everything can be put in, so you know when you put a panel together, it's square. Just like we would do here in woodworking, we need a nice square corner to reference off of. That's what this board is going to allow for. So now we've got 30 by 30 board. We need this to be 24 by 24. We have our aluminum angle, which we're going to cut in half, so we have a nice reference here and here. Of course, I'll have to make a fancy little lap joint so when these come together, they're not humped up on each other. So on to the first part, which is chopping that in half. All right, so that's probably a little loud on camera. I apologize for that. If I remember, I'll put a little warning ahead of time. Watch your ears. Yeah, so many of you probably already know it's aluminum. You can cut it with standard woodworking tools, so that just saves me the trouble of having to break out a hacksaw or something to cut that, bring it to your chop saw, chop it down. It's just that easy. All right, next to the board. Okay, so the debate was track saw or table saw for cutting this down. My priority was the square corner, so first I took my framing square here, checked, I've got a square corner here, and off that same reference side, I've got square corner here. So that means I can put either of these sides on my saw and get a straight edge based on that. So I think we're just going to run it through the table saw. All right, so a mistake. I like to think of it as a feature. It's a mistake, but we're calling it a feature. So as you saw, I used the bandsaw. Bandsaw got a little bit aggressive in here. I wasn't paying close attention, trying to freehand it. So that 3/4 of an inch isn't the same thickness. As you can see, it dives in. But if when putting stained glass stuff together and using this as a square reference, if this corner piece is bigger than 3/4 this way, it'll never have a problem. I threw the square on there. It's square. So it just means little tiny pieces probably shouldn't go in the corner. I can redo it, but it's a feature. Maybe. So on from here, we'll have to take our smallest screws, which are some Power Pro 5/8. Love Power Pro hardware. And we'll have to use the grinder, grind them down just a little bit or they will pop through the surface. Not much, but I want to just kind of grind them down a little bit before I countersink the aluminum and send that screw in. I don't want the top ruined. So we're going to do that and then onto some countersinking the aluminum and put the screws in, and this project will be ready for use. All right, so another feature in this shop is that I don't do a lot of work with metal. And it shows because if you saw any video of me doing the first few holes on this, I was struggling. It was taking forever. It got really hot. And then I'm like, dummy, you need to lubricate that. So to the rescue, Boeshield T-9 lubricator and rust inhibitor. So this stuff is great. If you don't have any, get some. I'll put a link in the description for where you can get some. But yeah, once I lubricated it, man, it cut like butter. And the last few holes were not a struggle like the first couple were. So, slip of my mind, because I don't do this enough with metal. But now in the future, I'll leave myself a note. In that age where there's lots of notes floating around. But and the tough part about this was my drill press. It was a Facebook Marketplace find, of course, as we have limited funds. So is missing the fastening bolt down here that would hold my depth gauge in place. So this was all guesswork. I'd have to get it to where I thought it was right. So that creates a different problem. So I need to get a bolt. Really need a better drill press, but we just don't have the funds for that. Lots of things on the list of we need this before this becomes obsolete and needs replaced. So in the meantime, take this to town, get a bolt for it, and these then are ready to put on the board. All right, end of the build. The purpose is stained glass. So if the customer's happy,
very happy,
then that's all that matters, isn't it? So we did some mistakes. Mistakes were made, including, ironically, the original outro for this video. This is the second one. Somebody forgot to turn on his microphone. I'm not saying who it was. Somebody did it. But despite all the mistakes, it's going to function perfectly. So she's got a nice edge here to run her strip cutter along. She'll be able to trim off an edge like on this jagged piece. She can straighten that edge up, flip it around, straighten that one up, and she'd have a nice piece of glass that she could cut into smaller pieces. It also provides a nice corner where she can tack all the pieces together that she's got foiled. It's a complicated thing. It's artistic. I don't understand it. She understands it. That's all that matters. So she thinks it's going to work for what she needs it to. That's all that matters. So if you're making mistakes in your shop as often as I am, does it matter? No, because any bad day in the shop is better than a day anywhere else, unless you like fishing, I'm told. So that's it for this video. Thank you for coming along in this little journey, this simple little project, watching me mess up and still somehow come out in the end with the product that the customer liked.
love.
Yeah. Fortunately, she's related to me. She has to like it. Not always, but you know. Thank you again for coming along on this little trip with us. If you think we've earned it, maybe a like or subscribe or tell your friends. Any of those things we truly appreciate, and we value the time that you spent with us. That's it for this week. So remember, you can do this.